Welcome to Transformation with Martine. Martine Emmons is a transformational life coach who broke free from childhood abuse, sexual trauma, and overcame cancer to become a powerful force of healing and hope for others. Martine describes traumatic events as fierce emotional tsunamis. They can leave impending doom and destructive tidal waves of emotions that hit you when you least expect it. Martine helps her clients dive into the depths of their trauma and pain as she stands fiercely advocating for them to shine a light on those experiences and find the lesson in the pain. She serves as a beacon of hope that guides you to see the strength, lessons, and purpose that can be born from the pain. You can feel alive with purpose again when you awaken your dormant strength, step into your power with a sense of peace, and discover a new wave of hope with the right tools and support. Martine and her guests are here shining their lights today through empowering stories of hardship and transformation to inspire you to find hope and to see that there is a beautiful blue ocean of serenity, happiness, and fulfillment in your future. Transformation with Martine starts now.
Welcome everyone to Transformation with Martine. This is where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. Today, I am excited. I have a guest who she's a second timer on my show and she just loves me. You know, she can't help it. So she's back today. For those of you who don't know, my show is about overcoming and the resilience of the human spirit. That's what this show is about. And we are live every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Pacific. And my guest today is Jami Hearn. She's awesome. Not only is she an attorney, but she's a shaman. She's an intuitive. She's just extremely gifted. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. That's so sweet of you to say. And you're right. I do totally love you. So I'd show up if you asked.
Well, welcome. You know, I am so excited because today we're talking about intuition and amplifying our intuition. And just like I was telling you before we got started, I could use like a way to amplify my intuition. And it's just funny. One of my colleagues, she always says, God has jokes. And like I told you, neither one of us is religious at all, but we believe in God. And she just says, God has jokes. And he's played a few on me this morning. So what's up?
No. Already today?
Already today.
Well, we can dive in and see what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of accessing your intuition. It allows you to see beyond the daily struggle. And let's be real, some days it's a real struggle.
100%. It is. Yeah, you just like, I know full well with just one thing that went wrong today, it's just because I wasn't meant to leave the house. It's just, and I know that, I don't know why, but it wasn't. You know, I went out to just go, you know, I'm having some treatments done for my skin condition, and I go out to the car and my rear view mirror is hanging. My car is not even a year old. Wow, what is that? And there's no way. Eric's like, you probably get away with it. I'm like, if I get pulled over with that, not to mention that's not safe at all, you know? So it's like, what was that? Like, what, is there a reason I'm not supposed to go? Probably. Feels like it, but at the same time.
And you may never know the why, and that's okay. Like, that's the beauty of the synchronicity, is that you don't have to know the why or the how. Right. You just have to trust.
Right. But what do you do? Like, because I'm one of those people, like I get a little worked up and then it's like, you know what? It's okay. This isn't a big deal. There is a reason for it. What would you suggest to people that maybe don't come to that quite as quickly?
Well, I may be one of those people who doesn't come to it as quickly. Okay. I'm really good at hanging on to things that don't serve me. And it's just a conscious intention that you have to set around honoring your path as it comes to you. So create some type of release ceremony. Could be super quick, like any type of ritual. Maybe it's go get a piece of paper and write down something like, screw this, or like, or whatever the issue is, light it, throw it in your cauldron. I have the cutest little cast iron cauldron that I like to burn things in.
Awesome.
Or if you don't have that available to you, one of the most powerful shamans I've ever met in my life had a practice of throwing things away. She also did energy healing. So she would heal you, and then she would take whatever energy in her hands and she would throw it. And she would do it 3 times. So that's another like quick little ritual that you can do just to shift that and release something. Lots of us are so caught in our humanity that we need to have a physical action in order to move some of the energy. Others of us are really good at using things from an energetic or a metaphysical perspective. You don't have to have that like physical, you can just envision it and think it and set the intention, and that creates the same effect. But whatever works for you is absolutely perfect.
Right. Well, you told me at one point just to walk around the house saying I'm an effing rock star. So I was doing that today.
Yeah.
It kind of helps a bit, you know, it might take a moment to believe that, but then it's like, it kind of resonates a bit like, yeah, you know, I'm a rock star.
Can't you feel that shift of the vibration around you when you're like downtrodden and feeling like dejected? And then you shift that, you're like, forget that. I'm a rock star.
That's right. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Ay, ay, ay. So, Jami, how did you get to this place? Like, you know, the show is about overcoming, and you've learned so many skills, and not only just in your whole learning and experiencing life and taking courses and studying and da. How did you get to a more healthy place like this?
It's been a process. And there's been tons of trial and error and pitfalls and hurdles and challenges. So it's really been allowing myself to follow the path that feels most aligned. And that's what I want to help people with. Like, I don't want people to have to go through all the stuff that I went through. Like, I want you to be able to learn from the mistakes I've made. One of those being, took me a long time to actually trust my intuition. And things like failed relationships, car accidents, losing money, getting stranded, like all of those things had to happen in order for me to be like, oh, yeah, I saw this coming and I just didn't listen. And it doesn't have to be that way.
But wouldn't you say a lot of us are like, we have to learn these lessons, and it's like you want to graciously help people with this, but do you think they're going to learn as much if they don't go through it? Like our kids?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's all about confidence. And confidence in your intuition. So you don't have to struggle and deal and suffer and deal with all of the hard parts if you take the actions to build the confidence in listening to your intuition. So it's kind of like, I have a knee with no ACL. So I could go through the process of having the knee reconstructed, which would be painful, and I'd have to do rehab and all of these things. So instead, I have chosen to keep the muscles strong that are keeping my knee together. So I've chosen to take the proactive route with that instead of going through the struggle. Now, I'm sure that there are probably some doctors or orthopedics or whatever that have an opinion on that, but it's just an example.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, that makes sense. You know, building up strength And that can be in any way, no matter what is going on with you, right? Building
Yeah.
up other parts of you or whatever to I don't know, to create some kind of foundation to build some parts of it, and then the rest will kind of come together.
Right. But
Yeah.
what you said about having to learn the hard way
Mhm.
is a foundational program
Mhm.
that we as humans
Mhm.
buy into, even though it's not our stories.
Right.
So that's one thing that I love working with people to unprogram.
Mhm.
I have to struggle. I have to like be in the muck in order to learn. Also, it doesn't have to be hard. Like, that's one that's really
Right.
pervasive. I mean, how many of our parents told us, well, you have to work hard to do well in life, and you have to go to school and work hard. And if you want to have a good job, you have to work hard.
Yep.
I'm totally about working smarter, not harder.
Right. Right. God, we don't get that till later, or some of us don't get it at all, you know,
Right.
because some people, they're still there. And I know even myself right now, I know that the cause of what I'm going through with my skin and everything is stress for me. There's also some people, it's a thyroid thing for me, and I know it's not. I don't have a thyroid problem, but it's really a hard concept to think about slowing down, trusting your intuition, figuring out what is in alignment with your heart and soul, but still having to make a living. You know, it's hard to do that. You know, do you know what I
So-
mean? Am I making sense?
What if it wasn't hard?
It shouldn't be, right? Especially if you are in alignment, like, oh, I know this is right. I know it. But how do I pay my bills till then? I have a client going through this right now. And it's I resonate with it because I've got some similarities here going on. Yeah.
Interesting. Why are they mutually exclusive?
I guess they're not. I guess they're not.
And they don't have to be, but that's
Yeah.
another programming
Mm-hmm.
that we like. All of us are working through the programming we've experienced in this lifetime, the social programming from past lives, and generational programming.
Right.
So
right.
we have a lot of work to do, but it doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to be a sacrifice. So that's my message, I guess, for the world. Like, let's do this the easy way.
Well, hallelujah. You know, I mean, please. So we're going to take a break, but let's go back. Let's go into generational programming and all this stuff. I mean, all the way down, you know, because that's what my dad is always like, you got to work hard. And he always says, I have to do the crappy jobs that nobody else wants because they pay the highest. So, Jami, where can everybody find you before we take a little break?
You can find me on social media and at jamihearn.com. It's JAMI, no E, HEARN.
Right on. We'll be back, everyone, in just a few. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. My amazing guest is Jami Hearn, and we are talking about, well, we left off talking about generational programming and just stuff that we are not only brought into this world in this lifetime, but from way back. So, Jami, what do you think?
So I've done tons of work. Like, I've spent most of my adult life working on me and other stuff. So it's not like I've only worked on me, but
Yeah.
It wasn't until I had the opportunity to buy back a piece of land that had been purchased by an ancestor of mine back in the late 1800s. And it's always been a family member that lived in the house, but like it wasn't my grandmother or my parents. So my husband and I bought that land, and it really stirred up some stuff for me.
Oh.
Stuff that I hadn't realized I had been hanging on to. And then I realized it wasn't my stuff. So
wow.
much of it to me showed up as like patriarchal programming, like husband and sons are always more valuable than wives or daughters. And I had a ton of resentment about that because I am very concerned about individual sovereignty, regardless of who or what you are.
Yeah.
And that didn't seem to mash until I dove into the healing of that lineal programming. And I started to recognize that it was fear-based. It wasn't control-based. And that's how I felt it was. My grandmother's grandfather lost 2 wives in that house.
Oh my gosh.
And then my grandmother's father lost a wife in that house. And tons of babies died in that house. Like there was a lot of loss, and it always seemed to be the mother or the wife that was dying.
Oh my God.
So that brought a lot of light to the fact that these men were projecting security on other men and sons because they stayed and wives left and died and left them alone. And I was like, oh, like it had a totally different energy for me then. And I was like, but I'm here. I'm ready to continue whatever needs to be done here. Like,
yeah.
So I've had the privilege of shifting that for myself and my ancestors. So what I was harboring resentment about really had nothing to do with what I thought it did. But it was a powerful lesson for me to see how that was showing up in my own life. And that affects all of us. You don't have to have a story like that to be dealing with that generational and ancestral programming. Like maybe you have a story where your mother always had no money, and her mother had no money, and they had to marry based on the need to meet their basic needs. So that shows up in you, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. And it could show up in the opposite. Like you could show up as a completely independent, absolutely not needing anyone else to help you to create a stable, secure life for yourself and be super lonely. So it's not necessarily the same exact pattern, but there's a connection between how they show up. And hard work is one of those. Like we have parents and grandparents who lived through the Depression in the US, and many of them were immigrants. My grandfather's family came from Eastern Europe, and they were coal miners. And then from coal mining, they went right into the Depression. So they never knew life that wasn't really hard and worry about where their next meal was going to come from. I can remember my grandfather telling me that he went to work on the road so his kids didn't have to eat bologna. Apparently there was a big stigma around bologna in his family. But he made choices that he thought he was making hard choices. He was leaving his family and going to work on the road because he didn't want them to have to make the same hard choices as he did. So he started that healing process in my family. But all of our families have a story like that, even if we're not consciously aware of them. I think I just probably told you more than you wanted to know.
No, that's great. Like I felt all that. And I was thinking about some of the, I spent some time helping my dad this week, and we've been just talking a lot about family history. And it's interesting, because my grandparents but both grandfathers came, one from France, one from Paris, or actually he's from Switzerland, but he was stationed in Paris in the army. And both these men were, well, what's the polite way to say that? Boy, they got around. And it's interesting though, but they were both very wealth-minded thinking, like, even, but that didn't pass, I guess, to my dad, because he wasn't that kind of thinking. But in our family, most of the time, it is the thinking that, hey, we can do stuff. And it's not necessarily saying it has to be working hard, but both of them did what they wanted to do in all areas of life. They did what they wanted to do. So that kind of gives me hope in that sense. Like,
that's kind of cool. I mean, as long as there's not significant collateral damage doing what you want.
Exactly.
But that's really cool to give yourself the permission to do what you want and have that programmed in. Like, that's what I want my kids to have. Like the knowledge that they can do what they want, as long as it's not harmful to others.
Exactly. Yes.
And create the life that they want. I don't want them to feel like they have to be a slave or a cog in the wheel that is so prevalent in our culture, in our society.
Yeah. It does seem though that at least our younger people now, they are thinking more about what they really want. Not so much like, well, if I do this, I can support my family, or if I do this, well, it'll allow me a couple of vacations a year. They're thinking a little bit more what I want. I know my own son, 17, he is thinking more like, okay, what can I do that I really love? Yeah, I want to make a lot of money, but what can I do that I really love?
Right. And the sweet spot is finding the nexus of those.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I was told it had to be hard. And it sounds like you were too. It has to be hard. You've got to do, and you got to be educated. You got to do all these things. But what point in your life, and we probably did talk about this last time, but what point in your life were you like, you know what? Yeah, being a lawyer makes good money, but this isn't where I'm fulfilled.
And being a lawyer making good money is definitely a programming that doesn't replicate across all experiences. Yeah, I pay my bills. Like, that's great. And I'm also more interested in doing the things that serve me as a soul than sitting at my desk drafting documents all day. But I was in my 30s before that thought even crossed my mind that I didn't have to do what I was programmed to do, or the path that I had set out on. It was really after my dad passed away that I realized, like, oh, there's got to be more to this existence than just slogging through suffering and then dying.
That right there. Absolutely. So, and how did you start making the first change? Because I know that's what people are wondering right now.
Yeah, I found a mentor. And it was a mentor that I thought was so cool. And she was where I wanted to be, or where I thought the next step for me was. And I started learning from her. I went to an event with her and met the next round of really cool people. And that was just the stepping stone for getting to this point.
Yeah, we have to invest in ourselves. And I think that's something that, I mean, I've heard that from the whole time the thought of being an entrepreneur, which is in 2012, the thought of that has been, get around the people that excite you and are smarter than you and have something, they motivate you. They have something to offer, and then you can start helping and offering, and then you find the next group of people that are doing even more than you and all that. So,
right.
yeah.
I mean, it's cool to hang out with people who are at your level, but what are you
Mhm.
really learning from them? Like,
Exactly. Exactly. So we are going to take a break again for the second time here. And then we're going to come back. Jami has a new program with another awesome colleague of ours that we're going to talk about and that I'm sure will be of interest to all of you. Before that, Jami, where can they find you?
you can find me at jamihearn.com. Jami Noe, JamiHearn.
.com.
.com. Yes.
Okay. And isn't there more like, what are your Instagram handle? What's that handle and stuff? Isn't it Live Your Divinity or something?
No, it's Jami
Okay.
_Hearn. You'll see it's my profile picture. So you would like, if you're on any other sites, you'd recognize me. But there is another Jami Hearn out there, and I don't know her. Maybe I should meet her.
Maybe you should. Yeah, and make sure you distinguish who is who. Right?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine. This is where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. My guest today is Jami Hearn, and we are going to go into a new program that she just created with, well, I can call her my awesome colleague as well, Robin Eaton. So what's happening?
So we decided that we want to share all of the knowledge that we've spent our lifetimes accumulating with other really cool people. And for the most part, they're women, but there are some really cool dudes in it.
Awesome.
We actually had a guy reach out to us and be like, are men allowed to participate? Of course they are. Like, but you have to be cool. You can't be like,
Yeah. How do you screen them? How do you know? What if they're really annoying once they're in? I mean, what are you going to do?
Oh, well, we have pretty good radar about who,
yeah, I know you do.
And who's not. But it serves both men and women or non-binary individuals too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are working on an academic calendar curriculum. It is an 8-month program where we're teaching 8 different classes. It is called the Mystics Academy of Secrets. So the first year, we're going through all of the basic things that people are wanting to learn about accessing their intuition and learning how to manage their energy and protect their energy and talk to their spirit guides and do all the things that Robin and I do almost unconsciously at this point. So we also have disclosed that we have nearly a combined century of experience navigating our own gifts and talents and figuring out how to show up in the world with them, even though they're not readily accepted. It's becoming better. 40 years ago, it was not readily accepted to talk to dead people. And that was really a fringe experience. But now it's becoming far more frequent and easier to talk about and more accepted. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're at. What would you like to know about it, Martine?
Well, first, you and Robin, you're not only you're dynamic together, but your skill, you're a little bit different. I didn't know Robin talked to dead people like you do.
She doesn't do it the same way. So Robin is a practicing shaman, and I am an Akashic Records reader and evidential medium. We have very similar gifts and experiences, and they intermingle together, but they are not exactly the same. She does receive messages from past over spirits, but that's not her normal mode of communication. I receive them more readily, and I also hold myself out as a medium, but she gets them. even when it's my grandfather waking her up and she calls me annoyed, she's like, can you tell your grandfather to leave me alone? Like, I didn't really like him, so could you just keep him?
Yeah.
And she's like, no.
But your grandfather, or if it's well,
No, it's
he's
not the
funny,
one you
though.
know about.
Okay. Okay. Well,
that-
okay. Then maybe I want
liked
to pass
that
him
one.
off too. I don't know. But the funny one is like, well, it might be annoying at 3 a.m. at the same time. It might be kind of fun.
Yeah, no, the funny one, I liked him.
Mhm.
I like when he visits me. Actually, I was doing a mediumship gallery and he came in and one of my friends was in the audience who is a medium and he started telling her dirty jokes.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. I love it. I think it's great. And some of the stories you've told is pretty awesome. Yes. Yes. That's like, a lot of times I think it's, I've got a little bit of ability, but I don't have, it seems like it's not as fun to me as it is you. I just get little things like, oh, this is helpful. But that's about it. You have fun with it. It's like, maybe it's not always fun, but yeah, that's true.
I've chosen to have fun with it.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything with it for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started to see it in one of my kids, I figured, I better figure out how to manage this.
Yeah.
And I have decided that it's such a big part of who I am that I want to have fun with it and I want to share it with people and I want to help other people grow that part of who they are because we all have it to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of how strong it is and how strong you want it to be.
Yeah. I remember somebody telling me, a long time ago, somebody I used to see when I lived in Nevada, and she goes, we all do have some ability, some a little bit more, but she says, still, I only have like this much. And tomorrow you might make a change that changes everything. Free will.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah. And free will is often what has caused you to close it down. Because when we're kids and the adults that we trust for our survival tell us, oh, stop making things up. You're just imagining that.
For sure.
Like, we're like, okay, I guess I'm just crazy. So I won't do this anymore.
Right.
But my personality didn't really lend to just trusting what my mother was telling me. So I got out of childhood still connected.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's amazing though, because you have, and I'm just talking about you, I know Robin too, but not like I do you. And I mean, you've got something that's like just magical to add to all of your businesses, really.
Well,
You've got you've got this special gift. And I guess sometimes you don't actually want to tune into it. Certain types of, maybe in your law practice, you don't want to, but maybe in making a decision whether to have a client or not, maybe that's a good idea. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually had one family that they were super hard to deal with. There were 3 sisters and none of them were easy to manage alone, let alone all 3 of them. And it was my last meeting with them. We were getting everything wrapped up and one sister decided she was going to stir the pot. And the father popped right into my ear and said, tell her this, it'll shut her up. And I did. And she was like, whoa. And she didn't say a word the rest of the time.
Really cool.
I was like, thanks, Pop.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's kind of a way to, freak somebody out, but put them in their place at the same time.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. So in this academy, what like people going in, what can they, well, not just what can they come out with it, but even to start, what are they going to start with? Even just being able to tap in a bit more, but then how is it going to progress?
So it goes through like a step-by-step process of learning about energy, tapping into energy, learning about protecting your energy, learning how to communicate with spirit. So every class is 4 weeks. So we meet once a week for those 4 weeks. And of course, it's all recorded and available if somebody can't be live. It's way more fun when you're live, but that's just not feasible all the time. We understand that. And then we take a break every 4 classes, and then there's a week off for integration, catch up.
Yeah.
We're also doing something which I find to be unique. I've not experienced it in any programs I've participated in, but every week Robin has office hours and I have separate office hours. So if there's something that you are bumping up against, or you're just not sure how to work through it, we're both available for consult and guidance during those times. So the curriculum builds on itself. And by the end of the first year, our capstone course, I don't know that we've disclosed it yet, but our capstone course is how to deliver information to others. So basically giving a reading. Yeah. Because lots of us get information and don't know what to do with it. So when you're getting information and you know it's for another person, there are ways to deliver it that are with grace and flow, and not just be like, so your grandfather's in my bedroom, can you get rid of him? Like Robin did to me.
Yeah. Oh boy. So the course isn't just really, I mean, not just your own intuition to kind of help your life. I mean, this is to learn how to communicate.
It's to enhance
with the deceased or whatever.
Right. It's to enhance the experience. So all of us have intuition, and growing that intuition brings message in. So it's a continuum of learning from the beginning of like, okay, I know I have intuition. What do I do with it? How do I hear it? How do I do this? To using it to create a better life for yourself and benefit those around you, like your kids, your family, your friends.
And I think anybody that signs up, I mean, they already believe, but how do I put this? I know that I have some skill, but not like you. So can you develop more, or
absolutely
not everybody can be like you kind of thing? Like
anybody can be. That's another cool thing about this program, is that it puts you in with a group of other people and creates a safe space to explore your connection. Because I mean, a lot of us don't have that at home and with our close friends. So it gives you a group where you can call or text or message and be like, so I'm pretty sure I'm seeing a dead person, but I don't know what to do with it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
And that alone is invaluable, to have somebody to talk to about your own experiences.
For sure.
But everyone can do it. It's just a matter of whether you want to or not. And just because I hear something and somebody else sees something doesn't mean that they're not having as deep or authentic of an experience.
Yeah. And probably, I mean, you probably start recognizing more as you go, as you trust yourself.
Yeah.
You know, for you, it's completely like it's normal now or whatever. But for somebody like I keep wanting, and you know this, I want to see my sister, but I don't. I want to see my brother. I don't. And part of me is like, are you just scared? Would you really be scared if you saw him? I don't think so, but maybe. And maybe that's why I don't know.
You'd be startled probably, but there's no reason to have fear.
Right. And do they look the same as you last saw them?
Normally they look like their best self. Okay. Like around 30, healthy, vivacious.
Yeah. Well, my sister was 39 when she died, so I would expect that she'd look somewhere in there, or maybe a little bit younger when she was more healthy. I don't know. You know, because you see her. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear her too.
I know you do. And probably here's not the best thing to say what she's, says, but yeah.
She is a very colorful person.
She is. And God, I miss her. Oh God, we talk about that. She's sometimes the most embarrassing person on the planet, but God, I miss her. Just how she would just be out there, shy me and just out there, Kristen,
Yep.
Oh, man. So we are going to take a break and we'll come back and talk about whatever we choose to talk about, that's spiritual and intuition and all that good stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. And today we're learning more about how to compromise nothing and just get through everything, because we have that innate ability inside of us. We've got intuition. We've got ways to find the answer inside of us if we're patient enough to do it. And Jami here is an expert on that, of finding, our gifts inside and the right answers for us.
Wouldn't it be super cool if you had access to knowledge that allowed you to make the next right choice for yourself without questioning?
Yes.
Oh, you do.
Well, how about giving those of us that don't know those tips? I've got an idea because I've worked with you, but how about other people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I love the Akashic Records as a tool, because the records are the energetic collection of all of the experiences and lessons and beliefs that your soul has.
Mm-hmm.
So when you access your records, you have the capacity to look at things from a higher level perspective and not be mired in the humanity of the decisions and problems and struggles and all the day-to-day. It also gives you an opportunity to recognize how things relate. So it shows you some of the strands of experience from an energetic perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and how they're leading you and how your decisions are feeding into or detracting from your most exalted path. I know that seems like overwhelming, but the reality is that everyone has the capacity to access their Akashic record. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's harder to access other people's records. So I always tell people to start with their own. Mm-hmm. Because it's your vibration. You know it. There's nothing else you have to learn. It's really just allowing yourself to be acclimated to the vibration of rising above mm-hmm. this human chair you're sitting in or standing or laying, and looking at things from a higher perspective. Of course, there's a process to accessing your records, but that's the energetic blueprint. Like it's very simple to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's where all of the answers are.
That's awesome. It does. I guess it's not so much overwhelming to me. It just still, even after knowing you for a lot of years, it seems impossible for me to do. Because I just call Jami and say, okay, let's have a reading, girl.
Yeah, well, you have that option to just text me and be like, let's go, let's dive in.
Exactly.
But you totally can do it. Everyone can do it. So I teach Akashic Records classes pretty regularly, a couple of times a year. And I have yet to encounter someone who cannot do it. I'm pretty rigid about not allowing kids to do it because let's face it, being a human is traumatic enough, but when you go into your records, like you can see some stuff that could
Right.
It could be disconcerting to you.
Yeah.
So my 17-year-old son basically confessed to me the other night that he's had access to the records. He knows how to do it. He's watched me do it enough times. He doesn't need me to teach him.
Uh-huh.
So that was kind of entertaining to me, that he just took it upon himself to do it. He's also extremely connected to spirit, and he's probably surpassed me in spiritual development at this point. He asks questions that I really just acquired the capacity to consider in the last year or so. When he was 8 years old, he said to me, "Do you think that we're actually living on a planet in a universe, or do you think that we're just living in a diorama on someone's wall?"
Oh,
And I was
I
like,
remember this. Yeah.
huh. Anyway, I digress. But I have not met a person who genuinely wants to access their records who cannot.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has the capacity to do so.
Yeah, I think that's amazing though. And for I know when we've talked about this, your son has had this for a long time, but it's amazing that he was confident enough to tell you, and he wasn't afraid of your reaction.
Well, he put himself in a position where he had to admit it, because I was telling him something and he finished my sentence with information that showed me he had previous knowledge of this incarnation he had. And I was like, "How'd you know that?"
And good thing you were where you were, right?
He is the factor that motivated me to get it under control and figure it out.
Wow. That's something. And I know full well that we could go on for days, but what would you like to impart our guests with? First, I think there should be a link to your new program. And I think many people would be interested in your Akashic Records training.
Okay. I'll share those links with you. Definitely. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes. So what would you like to, so you just shared that anybody can access their Akashic Records. They can develop their intuition. What else would be good to leave our audience with today of what they actually can do? And they may think, no.
Truly anything is possible. And what we talked about, I don't know if we were on air, but it's not always going to be comfortable, but it's always possible.
Oh, that's good. That's good. It is always possible. And yeah, it's going to be kind of scary sometimes. And maybe you're going to get some things that oh gosh, did I really ask to know that?
Well, and that's why it's important to have a group to support you and help you through that process, because you don't want to go it alone. I did enough alone. You don't want to do that.
Absolutely. So, okay, great. You're going to share some links with us of Akashic Records course, your brand new course with Robin. And one more time, where can they find you?
You can
get all this stuff
at jamihearn.com, JAMIHEARN.com.
Awesome. That's so good. And I would encourage everybody to at least check out her reading, see what Jami's all about, check out her courses. She is the real deal. I can attest to it. I am her testimony here. She's awesome. She knows what she's doing, and she's also really fun. So that's a good thing, right?
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. I hope you love the show as much as I do. And next week at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And next week, the show is about pride. 4 amazing guests that are going to give us all kinds of good information. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
Thank you for listening to Transformation with Martine. Did listening today spark a sense of hope and possibility? Hold on to this feeling and tune in every second and fourth Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific for more inspiring conversations with Martine and her guests. They will show you there is hope, and you are right where you need to be. Martine is dedicated to supporting you right where you are while launching you towards promise, passion, and possibility that leads to the fulfilled life your heart aches for. If you're tired of being stuck, schedule a complimentary consultation with Martine and get on the exciting path towards the life you want to be living. Visit martineemmons.com and make your appointment today.